Eleanor woke to the scent of growing things. After 3 nights of magical soundscapes, glowing forests, singing crystals, the hum of the train itself, she'd almost forgotten what ordinary earth and plants smelled like. But this was no ordinary garden. The train had emerged from the starlit tunnels into full daylight, though the sun hanging in the sky was unlike any Eleanor had ever seen. It was golden and warm, but also somehow multiple, as if several suns occupied the same space, creating light that came from all directions at once. They were traveling through a garden so vast it stretched to every horizon. But unlike the wild, ethereal beauty of the luminous forest, this garden was cultivated, intentional. Paths wound through carefully tended beds. Trellises supported climbing vines heavy with flowers that changed color as she watched. Fruit trees bore blossoms and ripe fruit simultaneously. Vegetables grew in spiraling patterns that were mathematical and organic all at once. And everywhere throughout the garden were clocks, sundials made of living flowers that rearranged themselves to show the time. Water clocks where streams flowed upward as often as down. Hourglasses filled with seeds instead of sand, the seeds sprouting as they fell. Clock towers made of twisted vines, their faces showing times that couldn't be correct. Some read 13 o'clock, others spun backward, still others showed times that didn't exist. Half past forever, quarter to never. Eleanor stepped closer to her window, fascinated. In the garden beds, she could see people working, passengers from the train, she realized. They were planting, weeding, harvesting, tending. Each person moved with a kind of peaceful focus she recognized from the best moments of her own creative work. That state of flow where time ceased to mean anything. A knock at her door announced the arrival of yet another conductor. This one was neither young nor old, male nor female, but something fluid and indefinable. They had skin the color of rich soil and eyes that held the green of new leaves. Their uniform was woven through with living vines that flowered and fruited as Eleanor watched. "Good morning," they said, their voice like wind through wheat fields. "I'm conductor time, yes, like the herb. Welcome to the Garden of Lost Hours." "Lost hours?" Eleanor asked, confused. "I don't understand." "All the time you've wasted," Time explained, settling into the seat across from her with a grace that suggested they were as much plant as person. "Or rather, all the time you think you've wasted. Every hour you spent scrolling mindlessly through your phone instead of doing something meaningful. Every evening you told yourself you were too tired to paint. Every weekend that vanished into nothing because you couldn't find the energy or courage to do what you really wanted. All that time isn't gone. It's here, in this garden, waiting." Eleanor felt a pang of guilt and recognition. How many hours had she lost exactly that way? Thousands, probably. Years of her life spent in a fog of exhaustion and distraction. Telling herself she'd paint tomorrow, she'd start that personal project next week. She'd reconnect with her creativity when things weren't so busy. "I can see you understand," Time said gently. "Most passengers do. The Garden of Lost Hours isn't here to shame you, Eleanor. It's here to offer you a chance to reclaim what you thought was gone forever. Time once spent can never be recovered in the ordinary world. But here, the rules are different. Here, you can plant your lost hours and grow them into something beautiful." "I don't understand," Eleanor said. "How does that work?" "Come," Time said, rising and offering their hand. "The train stops here for the entire day, or what feels like a day. Time is flexible in the garden. You could spend what feels like a full day working here and return to the train to find only an hour has passed. Or you might spend an hour and feel like you've lived a week. It depends on what you need. Eleanor took Time's hand and let them lead her off the train and into the garden. The moment her feet touched the earth of the path, she felt something shift. A deep sense of connection to the ground beneath her, to the growing things around her, to time itself moving differently here. The air was perfect, warm but not hot, with a breeze that carried the scent of 1,000 different flowers. Bees moved lazily from blossom to blossom, their buzzing harmonizing with the ticking of the countless clocks. Birds sang in fruit trees, their songs marking time more accurately than any mechanical device. Time led her along winding paths, pointing out different sections of the garden. Here, they said, gesturing to a bed filled with hourglass-shaped flowers. Someone is growing back the time they lost to a career that drained them. And there, pointing to a section where vines climbed intricate wire frameworks, a passenger is cultivating the hours they spent in a relationship that wasn't right for them, transforming that lost time into wisdom. They walked past a woman Eleanor's age, kneeling in rich soil and planting seeds with careful attention. As each seed went into the ground, a number appeared on a nearby sundial, hours being reclaimed, time being transformed. "That's Sarah," Time said. "She's been riding the train for 3 nights now, spending each day in the garden. She lost years of her life to an addiction she's now recovered from. Here, she's taking all that time she thinks of as wasted and growing it into a garden of recovery. Not just for herself, but eventually, when it's fully grown, she'll harvest seeds to start a program helping others." They continued walking until they reached an empty plot, freshly tilled and waiting. A sign at its edge had Eleanor's name on it in letters made of morning glory vines. "This is yours," Time said. "If you choose to plant here, you don't have to." Some passengers prefer just to walk the garden, to see what others have grown from their lost hours. But if you want to reclaim your time, transform it into something meaningful, this is where you do it. Eleanor stared at the empty plot. "What would I plant?" "That depends on what you want to grow from your lost hours," Time said. "What do you wish you'd been doing all that time you spent distracted, exhausted, disconnected from yourself?" "Painting," Eleanor said immediately. "Creating. I wish I'd spent that time making art." Time smiled and reached into their pocket, pulling out a small cloth bag that seemed to contain seeds. "Then these are yours. Each seed represents 1 hour of lost time. When you plant them, they'll grow into whatever you need most to reclaim your creative life." Eleanor took the bag and began to plant.